Hold on to your hats, lambs, because this time on Basically Detectives, we're talking about episode 6 of Making a Murderer, the Steven Avery Case. Lambs, I can't anymore, alright? I could sit here and start the episode off by telling you to go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/loveandmurder, where we have the different tiers, starting at $1, serial killer corner, bonus episodes, blah, blah, blah. I could tell you all of that. I could sit here and give you the disclaimer about watch the show, don't come here looking for all the details. I could do all that, but I just can't. There's no time for that right now, okay? There wasn't time for that 2 episodes ago. There isn't time for it now, alright? So, I'm just getting right to the point. It's infuriating, okay, guys? Okay, lambs? Look. So, investigators go through Steven's garage, and they're like, oh, we found 11 bullet casings, blah, 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 no bullet. And that's in November of 1 year, okay? Months later, they investigate again, and all of a sudden, they found this magical bullet fragment. And guess what? The only difference between then and quote-unquote now is that dude, Link, I think his name is Link, L-E-N-K, the one sheriff guy, he just so happens to be, quote-unquote, looking in the scene that day when the random bullet fragment is found. And things with this bullet fragment get crazy, guys. It's insane. This bullet fragment has so much history to it after they find it and put it through the lab. But anyway, speaking of the sheriff being involved, Steven's defense, and probably the rest of us too, are wondering why is the Minnetonka Sheriff's Department still involved in this case so many months later, The Sheriff's Department, from what I understand, and maybe one of you guys can clarify it for me, I'm always interested in you guys teaching me about this stuff if you know better than I do. Supposedly, the way that I understood it from the way that, Steven's defense team was talking, is that the Sheriff's Department gets involved at a lower level. Once you have a suspect and you've kind of evaluated some of the evidence, that is when higher levels of law enforcement come in and the Sheriff's Department washes their hands of the case. That is my understanding. I could be wrong. I would love for you guys to tell me. I would just love to be educated by one of our awesome fans, alright? You lambs are awesome. You educate us. I love that. Please do that to me if I'm wrong. Anyway, I digress. So the Sheriff's Department is still involved in this. Why? No one knows. And of the things that they kind of find in Steven's room, one of the investigators who searched his property does mention that they find Teresa's phone number on a notepad. So, that's kind of just more evidence that Steven and Teresa were in contact. I don't really see a point in them pointing it out. The reason why it gets pointed out in the episode is because they're like, oh, did you take this notepad with her phone number into evidence? And they're like, oh yeah, we did. We took it in evidence the second time around. I don't really know what the point of that was, though, because it's even stated later on, I don't remember if it's Steven's defense or a judge. I think it was Steven's defense. They point out that none of the evidence anyone is showing points to Teresa going into his trailer. There's no evidence, okay? We'll get back to that later, though. I want to focus on... I kind of want to focus on when they get to the forensics analysis. They bring in somebody to talk about the bone fragments that were found in the fire pit, okay? That makes sense to me. Have someone look at the bone fragments, kind of weave the web of the story of what happened to these bone pieces, okay? The forensics analyst was explaining how the bones, the skull, had this pattern in its fracture. Like, the way that the skull broke apart and the way that it was damaged always points to a bullet going into the skull. I guess the way that it fractures and splits off is just what happens when a bone of that nature gets hit from a penetrating force like a bullet. That was interesting to me. So they can prove without a shadow of a doubt that Teresa was shot. Okay? That was interesting to me. I like... It is sad that these crimes happen and people suffer these things. But I do kind of get interest in people analyzing what happened to, the victim. I kind of like the scientific breakdown of saying, well, the bone breaks this way because the force hits it that way, and that's interesting to me. There's another forensics analyst, and this is where it gets crazy. This woman is kind of testing DNA that they found on the bullet fragment. She, quote-unquote, introduced her DNA profile by accident while training 2 other associates. So she took this bullet fragment from this crazy, huge, long-running case, and she used this bullet fragment. She decided to use this piece of evidence as the test for training her new associates. And she has no idea how her DNA got mixed up in the test results of the bullet fragment. One minute, she's like, "Oh, I could have introduced my DNA while I was talking." Like, I guess maybe she thought her spit got into the test results or something like that. And then another minute, she's like, "Oh, I could have accidentally, I don't know." This is stressful, guys. I don't understand how these professionals and these long-time serving law enforcement officials keep making, quote-unquote, mistakes or don't have answers to questions that they should be able to answer. It's infuriating, guys and gals. I don't understand. So, I'd like to mention what Steven's defense does during all these episodes. At this particular time, Steven's defense, they're pretty livid. They're not happy, They're saying that the quote-unquote expert ruined the sample, and she used up all the sample so that no more testing could be done. They don't like that, They were told, I don't remember the details of this because it was kind of quickly mentioned, but they were told really early in the case that they couldn't use some kind of DNA testing. It had to go to this expert. But this quote-unquote expert tampered with it. Well, I don't want to say tampered with it, but she contaminated it. She used some kind of procedure that she had never used before, and just, it was crazy. Like, what is going on here? She never used this process before. She contaminated it while training 2 other associates. She can't really explain why she broke protocol this one time in her whole career. It doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, looking at her notes, her research, Steven's defense points out that while she was on a call with one of the investigators, they told her, quote, "Put her in his house." So, to me, that came across like they wanted her to get whatever result she could get to prove that Teresa Halbach was in Steven Avery's house. I feel like they put a bias on her. They put that little seed in her mind that, oh, this is the crime, this is what happened, I need to make the evidence match that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she was really trying to do her job. Maybe that was just them giving her context so that she would understand better what was going on. I don't know. What do you guys think? Now, because she messed up so bad, like, because the sample got contaminated, it was so you couldn't reproduce those tests. No one else could take the sample and get like a second opinion. Because of that, Steven's defense, they wanted the results to be considered inconclusive because there was too much going on. Her DNA got mixed in with the sample, yada, yada, yada. I don't know how many times I can say that this whole case is ridiculous. And there's a really funny moment to me where the one prosecutor, he's talking to the media, and he says, something, blah, blah, blah. We have the clear evidence to state that blah, 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 blah. And one of the, I guess she's a reporter. I don't know. She's either a reporter or like a journalist. I don't know. She's really pretty, and she kind of reminds me of Jennifer Love Hewitt, but she kind of gives him a retort, and she's like, isn't it up to the jury to decide what evidence is clear? That was really funny to me. I thought that was awesome. I don't know who that woman is. I don't know if she has gotten a prosperous career out of her work. I like that woman, I wish I could meet that woman. She sounds awesome. She seems awesome. Just sticking it to the man. And I've said this before. Where was the blood? Where was all the blood from when Teresa got killed? The story that they're painting is that Steven and Brendan had Teresa in the trailer, strapped to a bed, and according to Brendan, she was shot and stabbed and beat and bludgeoned and all kinds of stuff. Where is the blood? You have, as a human being, you have more than 4 liters of blood in your body. You get stabbed or shot, it's gonna splatter. It's gonna splatter. Where's all that in Steven's place? They asked this forensic, the DNA tester woman, they're like, of all the stuff that you tested, did you ever find Teresa's blood on anything that was inside Steven's trailer? And her answer is no. Now, this woman, the blonde DNA test woman, she might be doing her job to the best of her ability. And maybe she just made one little mistake or made one little accidental change. Maybe she really did think that the procedure she used, the one that she changed dramatically, maybe she really did think that needed to be done. I don't know. Maybe there is a scheme to frame Steven Avery for all this, and she's in on it. There's a lot of maybe here. For her in particular, I don't know. I don't know this woman personally, but still, these are all a lot of coincidences that are very shady, very iffy. I don't like this at all. I'm running out of ways to say that I don't like this case. Is this case intriguing? Yes. Do I have fun standing in this recording booth, talking to you guys about it? Oh, a lot. Rick loves to rant. But this case is getting way out of hand. So, it's so out of hand, not only do they fail to find Teresa's DNA in Steven's trailer, they also fail to find Brendan's DNA. His nephew! It's like, you'd think his nephew would at least have a footprint in his house. Like, oh, I'm gonna hang out with my uncle. Oh, yeah, I'm in his living room. Oh, no, I sneezed. Oh, shit, my snot's on the couch now. No, none of that. They find none of that. They can't even place Brendan in the house. They can't even place Teresa in the house. And they're still trying to say Steven did it. Alright. I need an awesome lamb to just either give us an SOS by going to our homepage, murderandlove.com, and explain to me what the heck is happening in this case, okay? I am clearly leaning more towards the fact that Steven's being set up. I need one of you awesome lambs. If there's one out there who believes that Steven isn't being set up, I need you to give us an SOS or write a comment and explain to me why this is Steven's doing. Why you think Steven actually did this. Because I don't think Steven did this, okay? There is too much stuff that doesn't make sense, alright? If Steven did it, in my mind, it would be cut and dry, he did it. No, there's all this intrigue and mystique about how certain things are playing out and where certain information is coming from. I really need one of you guys to sit down with me and break down what is going on right now, because I can't take it anymore, guys. I'm going to finish the show. Don't worry. I'm not going to stop watching it. We're going to finish the show together. Even if you have to stop listening to this, go watch the show, and then come back, well, don't stop listening. Keep playing this episode like in the background on low-level volume while you're watching the episode. Then come back and watch this episode again so that you can leave a comment and tell me what the heck is going on. Rick is about to start cussing right now, and that's never a good time. And another thing that really intrigues me is that the forensics can't disprove that there wasn't another location that these bone fragments came from. The forensics can't disprove that Teresa didn't get killed somewhere else, burned, that they cremated her remains, and then brought what little they have left over to Steven's property. They can't disprove any of that. Guys, I can't. I cannot. I thought I could, but I can't. Alright? So, again, if you guys are watching along with me, please tell me what you think. Please give me an idea on how you feel about what's going on. Go to our homepage, murderandlove.com. Give us an SOS shout out. Check out our merch. While you're giving us an SOS or thinking about writing a comment, please also, if you're interested, go to patreon.com/loveandmurder. We have multiple tiers starting at $1. Kai always suggests going for the $5 or above tiers for your best deals. We have things like Serial Killer Corner, Host Stories, we have Crazy Crime, all that kind of stuff. If you want some extra content, please check that out. And please also remember to lock your doors at night, and it's all love and no murder.